Welcome to Eye on Sports, where we delve into the biggest Butler County sports topics. I'm your host, Butler Eagle Sports writer Derek Pyda. Joining me are fellow sports writer Brendan Howe and Eagle Sports editor Jake Merda Adams.
Whenever they take some like ancient painting, like Greek painting, and they compare it to like what's happening.
So they did one with Luvu yesterday, diving over the line of scrimmage a couple times, and the guy who runs that account was on one of my friend's podcasts, and he's also been on Pablo Torre's podcast. So like I could probably reach out to a couple of my friends who do their own podcasts and ask them if we ever wanted to bring someone on like that, but we'd have to figure out what the connection would be here. He's an interesting interview.
ESPN compared. I would make
after
sure
he throws
not
the
to
winning
be here.
touchdown pass in the Super Bowl after Hurts gets hurt.
I would make sure not to be here if Kenny Pickett was on.
Let me ask you something. I mean, obviously you would have to be rooting for him because you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Hurts gets hurt late in the Super Bowl. 2 minutes left. Chiefs are up by 4. You need a touchdown. Kenny Pickett comes in. You're on your own 20. Your gut feeling. What happens? What does your gut tell you happens?
Spags blitzes the nickel corner like 3 straight times. The Eagles don't pick it up because Kellen Moore doesn't understand how to block for blitzes anymore, apparently. Pickett scrambles 15 yards back. He's going to take it. He's going to do a spin. He's going to take at least 1 sack in that 3 downs.
Phantom spin.
They're going to run a halfback dive to Saquon Barkley for 1 yard, and because the Chiefs are going to sell out.
He had this planned out already. He already was thinking about this in his head.
Hey, I was good this week. I fired Sirianni only like 13 times. It was down from about 18 the week before. We were a little calmer. The dog only ran away once. Things were a little smoother.
How many times did your wife run away?
I saw there was like a diagram on Twitter after that 4th down call that the Bills had where they blitzed that corner. Brave blitz. That was an impressive, like,
very Spags to do, but
like,
also
And Khalil Shakir, who motioned in to be his sidecar, and then as the ball snapped, ran the flare. There was not someone within a 15-yard radius of him. If Josh Allen just looks over and flips the ball his way, they might go to like the 20-30 or 30-20 yard line, like somewhere down there, and he completely missed him because you have 4 guys in your face
in a second.
I wonder how Dalton Kincaid is feeling today because that ball hit him square in the forearms.
I'm hoping that the Bills fans have shown over the last few years, like with how they've done like charity work to different players, especially on opposing teams when they've had like a bad break. And I think they did it again with Andrews last week even. I'm hoping that there's going to be some nuts out there that are going to give him crap, a lot of crap, some very terrible crap for it. And I'm using PG words here. But my hope is that they're just treating him better than like Baltimore fans are treating Andrews for a little bit there. It's just like, okay, he screwed up. He's human. It's a game.
If I was a Bills fan, though, there has to come a certain time where you crash out. Like, you have to be like, I'm so tired of cheering for this team. Like,
that's so tough.
We get to the doorstep, and then when we pass the doorstep, we get into the Super Bowl. We lose it 4 times in a row. So at a certain point, you have to be like, I hate my life. Like,
so much hate. The word hate is like, if you were to just do the word gram of Brendan's life, hate is like the biggest one.
Have you ever noticed that he's always the victim?
Yeah,
he's always being put upon by
the universe,
a female, a group of people, us,
his brother.
I'll tell you what I hate.
His brother.
And I texted you guys this right when I was listening to the podcast. I was listening mainly to hear.
Oh, you mean the Napoleon Dynamite conversation?
I was listening to the podcast the other night, just kind of to hear if you guys miss me, right?
Yeah.
I want to know if you guys miss me. I heard my name mentioned a few times. Like, okay. But that Napoleon Dynamite, for anyone, if you're listening, I know you watched that movie like 45 times when I was a kid. For anyone that has watched that movie and has disliked it, join my club, okay? Because
you're a one-man only club.
Very sad club.
We're gonna start wearing our vote for Pedro shirts.
Anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys? Forget about it.
Do you think I come home to Starla every night?
I don't know what any of this means.
You're going to find out because we're going to bring it up.
We're going to have our own show for the rest of the time here.
Every week it's going to be like, Brendan can't make it today.
We need to get one of the guy that played Napoleon Dynamite. We need to get him on the show.
No, I literally had that thought. I'm not even kidding,
so
Derek.
good.
I was like, you know what? Why not?
That'd be so funny.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
I would tell him how much I hate his movie and his life's work.
And then we'd be like, we love you. And then I'd do this. I would just turn
Actually,
your
keep
mic
that
off.
there. Keep that there.
Just turn your mic off.
Derek, let's just have our own show here.
Remember who's in charge.
The show's going to be a bang because we're talking about dynamite.
I brought up in the newsroom the other day when I was talking about the dislike for Napoleon Dynamite. I think Wolf of Wall Street is a much better movie. Jake's seen it.
No.
Derek is not.
No.
Have you seen it, Laura? The Wolf of Wall Street?
They're two so different
We
movies.
should have asked.
Yes, but you're comparing it to Napoleon Dynamite?
We should have asked Terry about that because he worked on Wall Street when Jordan Belfort was on
Oh,
Wall
I'm
Street.
sure.
Oh.
Yeah, because he wants to
So-
talk about what he was doing with all the,
Cocaine.
Yeah,
the
he
women
wants-
and the
he wants
cocaine.
incriminated late in his life.
I'm sure that that's not something we want to associate into that conversation.
I'm sure Terry Hanratty was just somewhere in the corner
That's
cracking
him in that
jokes and-
photo. Isn't that cool?
Hey, the mustache never left. I was going to ask him about his mustache. I just
No.
should
want
have.
to
You
press
should
the
have.
You
mustache.
should have.
Let's call him back. He's still free. We could call him. I could be like, hey, Terry, we had one more question
We
for
just
you.
want to talk about your bushy, beautiful mustache.
We could have grabbed the photo of him and the photo of you with your mustache behind you, and just been like, who did it better?
Well, that's signed by Terry there.
I would have got
Sports
roasted.
Illustrated.
He would have destroyed me.
It would have been so good.
Yeah, I
Like,
would have.
That doesn't look like the same person there.
We got to decide where we're putting this part of the show in because we're talking about this after we interviewed Hanratty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck, Laura.
It's fine. It's all good.
I already got on Laura's bad side today. I woke up, I saw Derek said, "You must text Laura Terry's number." I was like, that was weird wording. And then I got in the text, I was like, oh no. I thought of bringing you a coffee, but I didn't know what kind of coffee you liked, and I'm not sure if you support Dunkin'. So
Yes, I just don't eat their donuts because they're frozen. I don't want frozen
I had
donuts.
two of their donuts before I
No,
came
you
in
need to
here.
go to Donut Connection. They make fresh donuts.
I used to
I
take
don't need none of that frozen stuff. We already have enough crap in our foods as it is.
What movie is this from? I used to take bear claws 2 at a time as a kid and get them stuck right in this region here.
I was
Wait, what is that from?
the only Bear Claws reference I know is Weird Al from Albuquerque.
Wait, that's gonna drive me crazy.
Fat guy in a little coat.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's from Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's from Tommy. Don't you dare.
I have no clue what you're
I've
talking
never
about.
seen Tommy Boy, so
whatsoever.
You know
I
what?
used-
I didn't talk crap about it.
I know you didn't. I'm just joking. Really?
No,
Okay, so
We're here to help, Brendan.
We need to do a movie club podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing we've got to do. And every week it's just showing Brendan and I a new movie. Mostly Brendan, but there are going to be some in there that I have to.
so what would be an? You know what I just watched? I watched Meatballs.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
No, just Meatballs.
I feel like I know
Spaceballs.
that movie.
It's real old. It's
I judge books by their cover, and
Maybe I'm
Uh,
crossing.
Here's the
over
thing,
to
though. As I'm
Spaceballs.
watching it, I'm like, wow, today people wouldn't want to watch this. Everybody would be offended.
Oh,
They
yeah.
wouldn't get the comedy of it. But it's Bill Murray at his finest. It's like a summer camp for kids.
Okay.
And what I love about Bill Murray in this movie is there's this one boy who's he's the outcast, right? He feels like his parents sent him away for the summer, and he befriends him like as a camp counselor, and he like teaches him fun things and gets him like all excited about stuff, and he ends up getting this kid to run with him every day. And then at the end of the summer, spoiler alert, the movie's like from the 70s or 80s. So if you haven't watched it, it's not my fault and it's not my problem. But he gets them at the end. They have all these like different competitions, and they need someone to run this like race. And the other team the other camp they're running against, they're like really athletic, and this kid runs, and it's really good. But it's actually the actor who plays this little boy, I think, was the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I hate that movie
wow.
too.
Oh,
so.
can we find a movie
So
that
much
can we not?
hate.
There's so much hate.
The Oompa
How do you
Loompas.
how do you hate that? Gene Wilder?
Wait, what? The old one?
Yes, the
I've never
original.
seen the old one.
Oh my gosh, I can't with you.
The new one is.
I'm not talking
the new
about.
one is so weird. I won't watch the old one.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp and the.
I
yeah.
did see that one. It was strange.
No.
So
It
the
just-
Oompa Loompas give
it's
you
odd.
nightmares?
They don't
Will
give me
was an Oompa
nightmares.
Loompa
It's
one year for
literally
Halloween.
It's literally like referencing Star Wars and being like, episode 1, I'm going to be like, if you come at me with an episode when you're referring to like classic Star Wars, right?
But I've told you guys before, my favorite Star Wars is the one that was made in 2005, with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin fighting at the end.
Don't ruin
that's
it for me.
episode
It's okay.
3.
Yeah.
It's episode 3 when he
It's
turns
okay.
into Darth
Yeah.
Vader, and we learn all
Return of the
that.
Sith.
As long as his answer's not 9.
I have.
I
Only,
like the Kylo Ren ones. Kylo Ren is actually my favorite Star Wars character. I have a
The
bunch of
only
small
thing
things.
I
fine.
like about that storyline is that she's a Palpatine.
No, I hate that. I despise that.
Really?
Because there
But
was no
she's-
foreshadowing of that whatsoever. I don't even. I'm not talking
I
like it
thought
has
she
to be
was his
bludgeoned around.
twin for a while. I thought for a while that she was like, and it was the same thing with Luke and Leia, and they gave the one twin up. And
Hated that Palpatine force feeding in the last movie because there was zero setup at all. They
But it
did
made
that
sense,
as no,
but it did.
no, because they made that happen because Disney got scared about a bunch of racist jerks talking like ripping
wait, what?
apart Star Wars. I don't want to go through all this stuff. It gives
Okay.
me
Yeah.
anger issues.
Okay.
But there was a segment of the quote unquote fan base that was ridiculously brutal to the first 2 movies, and Disney panicked and they ripped Rian Johnson off of episode 9, and they put J.J. Abrams back on it and told him basically just make episode 6 over again, which means bring Palpatine in out of nowhere, and we're gonna have the Death Stars back again and all this other crap.
So
Derek doesn't know what we're talking about.
I hated that execution.
so what
badly.
was her original storyline then? Who was she?
She was supposed to be nobody.
But she had all of this power.
So did Anakin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anakin was a nobody, legitimately a nobody. The whole point was to get it away from like it's not just
Or
one
was
dynastic
he?
line.
We don't know where we don't know.
Well, there's a
They're
lot
gonna
of
make
theories there that I
prequels.
Is
know
there
about.
more coming out? I feel like I heard something.
Oh, there's a whole Thrawn movie coming out, which like Thrawn's one of my favorite characters ever, and Ahsoka.
Do you really not like Star Wars? Is that what's going on?
I have
here?
seen one, and this includes all the movies up till now, which is up to that like 12.
We're at episode 9, and then there's been
Okay.
some other movies.
And then there's other like side off
Yeah.
movies like
I have
shows.
seen one Star Wars movie the whole way through back in the late 90s when they re-released the original 3
yeah.
in theaters. I saw with a friend because he wanted company. I saw Return of the Jedi. That's the only one I've seen the whole way through.
Seriously?
I grew up a Rocky guy.
Well,
Rocky.
You
I-
can like sports.
grew up
and
Rocky-
Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
Star
saying
Wars.
you obviously can, but I'm just not into the.
You ever play Lego Star Wars?
I played a little bit of it, but never all
That
the way
was like
through.
me and
think I ran
Tyler
it
and our
once.
cousins like childhood. Like
Yeah.
we would just play those.
I've heard those games are really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
You
I actually haven't played those, but
All right.
if I was to get a game console, what would I get?
Switch.
Xbox or PlayStation?
I've got a comment for him after you're done with your little thing.
Switch. It just that's the entry point. That's
Switch,
the easy entry point.
Xbox. What do you?
Game Boy.
Okay.
An original.
No,
So you know Star Wars pretty well. If you had to compare him to one Star Wars character, and
Oh,
you
this
can't
is
say
fun.
Chewbacca,
He would be. Oh wait. He would
You
be.
did that pretty good. Did you do that for Bailey?
You know who I think he would be? I think he would be in
Jabba the Hutt.
789. He'd be the the trooper who bails. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Finn.
He'd be Finn. He's
Oh,
a
you know-
cross of
okay.
Finn and like
I could see that a little bit.
right?
I could see that a little bit.
Because Finn's kind of like, listen,
Wait,
I think you're cool, right? But like you have a little bit of a ditziness to you, like a dude ditziness. What do you call a dude that's like kind of like?
but
I
I'm
think he looks like an
let's-
Ewok. I
let's
think he looks
normalize
like an
Ditzy.
Ewok. He's an Ewok.
Oh, you would say that
secretly
because you've only
I'm-
seen one movie.
Secretly, I'm a grammar genius. So
No, I think you would be. I think you would
Finn's-
be the Finn who was like
Finn's
this.
not bad because like I'm thinking like he's not emo,
He's
so he
got a
can't
good
do
heart,
like Anakin,
you know, and he
he can't
means
do,
well.
Yeah, he just like
You're Finn.
every now and then he runs away or
And every
is,
once in
like
a while he-
over in this other space.
Yes, or he's like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Or wait, what? Oh my gosh, he's like late to the game.
Still
but he's
part
a
of
good
the
guy.
Rebel Alliance, but yeah, okay.
And he changes.
Sometimes you just need to turn him around and be like, okay, go this direction.
But he changes your perspective
Yeah.
on the
It's just
what are they called? Why can't I think
Stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers, thank you.
He's just Finn's not.
Bailey would
Finn
say
doesn't
the
use the
same,
word hate nearly as
so-
much.
Yeah.
But there's really no.
yes.
There's really.
We're
Brendan
gonna
would
work
be a
on
one
that.
of one character in Star Wars.
Yeah. We're
Finn's
gonna
the
work
closest
on hate
analogy.
with you. We're gonna find a movie that you
Hate
love.
leads to the dark
I'm gonna
side.
find a classic
Hey.
movie that you're The Burbs. Have you ever seen The Burbs with Tom Hanks? I
seen
mean,
it.
that's a classic.
seen it.
Listen, my ex-boyfriend was playing that once in the living room, and I was in the other room, and I was like, "The Burbs," and he's like, "How did you know that?" And I go, "Hello, the opening credits, the music, and it's like coming in onto the earth." He's like, "How did you know you were in another room?" I was like, "'Cause I know."
It's about Tom Hanks living next to a murderous family.
All right.
We lost.
I mean, but there's like more like it's Bruce Stern's in it, and he's hilarious. He's like ex-military, and he always comes out in his porch with those little short, like 70s shorts that they used to wear. Like, I think of the Celtics
I
every
like
time I
short
think of
shorts.
like short shorts.
I wear short shorts.
Things we didn't need to know.
I was gonna come up with a term here, but
I was just gonna keep staring.
I was gonna come up with a. Brendan's got a whole closet full of them.
How many? I didn't count how far we were in. You said Bailey's name. We were like about 10
Well,
minutes
the
in.
interview really. Oh, if you're not counting the interview, then okay.
Yeah.
First thing I say to Terry Anratty is, I have a girlfriend named Bailey, just so you know.
Are you kidding?
That'd be so funny.
That would have been funny if we had gotten that on. You should have done that. Oh man.
They'd be like, I'm part of inside jokes and I don't like this. Like,
Okay, so Valentine's Day, I need to know from 3 men in the room who are all in
So
2
I-
are married relationship. I need to know what's
I actually told Jake, he texted me Friday night as I was on my way to Newcastle for the Butler boys basketball game. He asked if I wanted any days off in February. I was trying to work with Baylor to see what night you'd want to go to dinner. So we're going on a Sunday night, probably to Cheesecake Factory because neither of us have been there in a little while. Yeah, and
Can't
then-
be in two Sundays. I'm not gonna say why because I'm not gonna piss off the football gods.
no,
I'm not gonna take off the football
It'll be the
gods.
Sunday after that.
All right.
So, but yeah, then the whole rose petals on the floor
Can't
thing.
be
and,
February 9th.
No.
Shush. We're not
Go ahead.
speaking it.
Oh, we're not speaking about
No.
it? Oh, okay.
He's superstitious about the Super Bowl.
Yeah. This is the
Is
last bit.
somebody
Of,
having a party?
this is the last bit of green you're gonna see on me for quite
Hopefully,
some time.
hopefully this works as a jinx. The Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
No, that was just mean.
I'm telling you,
I
maybe,
have never talked this much crap about the Steelers.
I might feel bad for Jake if they lose. I might.
They're
But-
going. Listen,
We're not gonna. No.
If
I'm
they
not
win-
saying
no,
anything.
no.
I
If they
won't. I
win-
won't.
I don't trust Sirianni. I don't
Won't.
trust Hurts. I don't trust this team. They
Oh, yeah.
drive me nuts.
There's one.
That's it.
All you got to do is come out.
Wait.
All you got to do is come out middle of this week and say we're not impressed with Hurts' play the last few games. We're starting Kenny Pickett.
Something that bothered me yesterday is Bailey. I went to take a shower and I walk out. This was after we watched the Eagles game, so I walk out and I'm like getting dressed, and she looks at me and she goes, "Who's Jalen Hurts? Or what is the Eagles quarterback's name?" I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Well,"
She getting a jersey.
she goes, "My friend Christina wants to know." I was like, "His name is Jalen Hurts," and I said it with like disdain. Like I don't like Jalen Hurts. I haven't since he played for Alabama. Part of it has to
I don't
do.
trust him.
Part of it has to do with the fact that he is just a few months older than I am, and I was in high school and I realized it's like, this guy's playing a national championship game, and I'm in a journalism class in high school. So that
Join the club.
combined with the fact
Right. How many dudes have that feeling?
that combined with the fact
Every.
that he is a good-looking guy who wears a diamond chain that everybody drools over. And she asked me, she goes, "What's his name?" I said, "Jalen Hurts." And she laughed at me. She said, "Why do you say it like that?" I said, "I don't like Jalen Hurts." And she looks at me and she just like smiled and like looked away. I was like, "What does that mean?" She thinks Jalen Hurts is attractive, and
Of
that
course
makes me
she does.
mad.
Of
That made me
course.
mad.
No crap.
Like, what would the odds
would you cheat on
be that
Brendan
she
for
would meet
Jalen
him
Hurts?
and they would ever date? You know, like
Would this
On
podcast
Brendan.
trade me for Jalen
I
Hurts?
cheat on Brendan, not my wife.
for Jalen Hurts.
Would this podcast trade me for Jalen Hurts?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, I don't know.
Brendan, we appreciate your time here on Ion Sports, but we want to move in a different direction.
so this is going to be your last episode.
The standard is the standard. That's all we'd hear.
Resuming Jalen Hurtson weekly.
Move on to
Yes, yeah, you do your thing.
All right, let's get to high school sports here. Jake, this past weekend you covered what I believe is the first ever girls wrestling tournament in Butler County at Butler High School. How did it turn out? What did you come away from? Your thoughts there?
So the first thing that struck me, specifically with that question, because I went in thinking like I'm going to ask some of the girls there, like, what is this like? There have been other wrestling tournaments that they've been competing in for the last few years, especially the programs have been around a little bit, like Butler and Seneca Valley. But it's like, okay, this is the first one that's home. for Butler especially, it's home, but for Seneca Valley and Knock, it's as close to home as they can get right now with all the other tournaments that they'd have to wrestle at around the western half of the state, going to Powerade, which is quite a hike. And they were all like, "Eh." And I was like, "Really?" I actually looked at one of them after I asked the question. They gave me the same answer. I was like, it's weird to me. Like, I'm going into this thinking this is kind of neat because I remember when girls wrestling wasn't a thing 8 years ago, and then it started to gain some traction, and now here it is. And I'm asking all of you if this is cool, if this matters in a different way, and you're all just kind of like, it's just another tournament, which is like probably the best compliment you can get in that situation. Like, first time tournament, you want it to run smoothly. You don't want there to be a whole lot of bad hiccups or anything like that. And it was a fine tournament. But credit to Butler, they gave Morgan and I a lot of good access there. We were able to just walk around and get what we needed to done. It flowed pretty quick. We were told it should be done between 2 and 4, and it was done at like 3:45. Tournament was good. We had 2 Butler wrestlers on the podium. A couple more made it deep into consolation rounds, so they got some points for the team. Seneca Valley, I think, had 1 or 2 wrestlers in the championship rounds. Braley Ireland for Knock was their big player that week, and she made it to 5th round or 5th place match, I think it was. It was just an overall good tournament. I mean, you had some really quality wrestlers out there. I talked with Nate Bodiger midway through, and I had talked to him before the tournament too, getting some background info and whatnot, and he said, we wanted this to kind of emulate the PIAA Western Regionals that are coming up in about a month and a half, or 5 weeks, something like that. And they had most of the teams from Western Pennsylvania, North and South. So that includes some of the Erie schools. That includes getting south below Pittsburgh and stuff like that. And the quality was there. I mean, you can see the way that I kind of looked at it is like there's definitely some raw wrestlers out there that have been doing this for a year, 2 years, and they've got a lot to work on. But when you saw some of the hammers go against each other, there were a couple good matches, especially 136. Whoa. That was brutal.
6.
Oh, man. And that was the one that Anastasia Manchester is in for Butler. She's like their best wrestler pretty much. She dropped down from 142 last year to go to 136 against a lot of the best wrestlers in the state. And this tournament had 3 of the top 5 ranked wrestlers in the state at it, according to PA Wrestling. And she went up against one of them, and the other 2 went up against each other. And so she got tested. And, like, she actually looked good in the match for a moment there. And then talent went out a little bit there, but it was a good learning lesson for her, potentially going into postseason here in a few weeks. It was a good tournament. It was fun.
February 15th, I believe, is the Whitbill Individual Championships for girls. So it's just around the corner. And a lot of times, like, if you're having, a season that's okay, a tournament like this, you do well, it can be kind of a springboard. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. A number of wrestlers, as you said, did well at Butler over the weekend, and the postseason's coming up, so we'll see how that translates. Brendan, you just recently did a story on what it takes mentally and physically to be a distance swimmer at the high school level. Obviously, we're talking about the 500-yard freestyle there. Talk a little bit about the interviews you got and your impressions after writing that story.
So to kind of explain here, I have to give my perspective on sports that I hadn't played, right? So I remember in college, one of my best friends from college played basketball in high school. We played intramural basketball, and he tried teaching me basketball plays. Everything's moving around at once. I was like, I'm used to, you huddle up, you get in a line, you know what you're doing. So I was like, I can't do this. And then other sports, such as baseball, which I only played for a year, there's like mechanics to pitching and hitting and fielding that you just think they're out there fielding. They're out there swinging a bat at a ball. The same goes for swimming. Here I thought that distance swimmers kind of jump in the pool and, not to put it ignorantly, but they just swim until they don't have to anymore. And I just figured they try their hardest the whole time. No, they get in and they have to pace themselves. So I interviewed the coaches and the kids, and they all mentioned, like, it takes a special kind of swimmer to get in and swim 500 yards. 500 yards is the top at the high school level. You move to the YMCA level, and they swim up to a mile. They swim 1,650 yards, which ridiculous to me. Like, just that alone, like, I couldn't imagine the toll that takes on your body, and how difficult that is. I was a lifeguard at one point, too. Just throwing it out there.
Did you ever notice when you were on duty, there was less kids there that day?
So, yeah, what the coaches and the kids told me was, like, they are thinking that entire time, whether it be about a song in their head trying to pass the time or about, is my stroke count? Am I swimming fast enough? Am I swimming slow enough to leave myself time at the end to kind of have that last kick to finish? Like, I didn't think about all that. And that's part of what was interesting going into those interviews, because I called someone, I learned something new every time, just in the fact, like, the one kid, it really stuck out to me, the imagery of him swimming the freestyle. He said, I go to practice, and these practices are long, and here I am. I stare at the black line that's, like, shows the lane under the pool. I stare at that for hours, just swimming. I was like, that sounds like it's not fun whatsoever, but these kids, they compete. They're talented in their competition, and I think most of the ones I talk to are either going to YMCA Nationals or they're qualifying or close to qualifying for WPIALs. So these kids are good swimmers, and it's not just jump in and swim. It's jump in and think the whole time while you're swimming.
Let's not forget, I just recently did the year-ender story on Drew Griffith, and he told me that it was actually his freshman year when he was kind of at that point more – he ran cross-country and track, but he was mentally, he felt like he was more into swimming. And it was Butler's coach at the time, Dave Bocci, that kind of instilled in him the drive to reach your potential. Now, he obviously ended up moving from the swim team to just track and cross-country, but it was during swimming season, his freshman year, that kind of ignited his drive to become great, and we know what he ended up doing on the track and the cross-country course. Obviously, incredible stuff.
It's fun to learn stuff when you're doing this, like, right? Like, when you're going into a story or, like, going into an idea, you don't know. You think you know what it is, or maybe you have no clue at all. In this case, like with you, Brennan, it's like, I got to pick up what I can and write a good story out of it. Like, I think that's one of the better parts of this is when you go in and you learn something. That's every day. Like, it's a cliche, but for us, it's literally our job. We actually have to learn something every time to then write about it.
Yeah, and I know I joked with Derek about, like, taking the swim beat from him just about not to cover wrestling, but I take a lot of pride in writing about swimming. Like, it's a sport that, say, like, I'm 12 years old and I pick up a Sports Illustrated magazine. If there's a feature on swimming in there, I usually skipped it. Anything that wasn't football, basketball, baseball, I wasn't reading. So it's cool to be on this side of things to show people, like, hey, these are kids with personalities just as much as a football player or a basketball player. Like, I think it's cool to kind of get those kids out there too, because they're really good at what they do also.
Your thoughts, Derek?
I had the swimming beat here for over 20 years, literally, and it's tough to let it go, but I figured the young pup here needed something to kind of spark him.
I'll plug the newspaper here again. Like, Brendan's story last week was out Thursday? I think we ran it Friday. We have the Butler girls wrestling stuff in Monday's paper today when we're recording it. Later this week, I plan to have a story on Knox Miranda Lejevic. If that goes well, that should be a good one. She's been injured this year. But she's been their social media manager. She's going to go wrestle at Hastings in a year, which is a really, really good women's wrestling program. What else do we got coming this week?
The Slippery Rock coaches, or former Slippery Rock coaches that have coached in the national championship game. It's kind of cool to tie everything back to a school that's 20 minutes down the road, especially on a stage like that. Tate Lucas, Butler's basketball player, he's a senior. He's a leader for them. He moved a few times. That's all I want to say now, because there's some really cool details of that story that I want to still dive into with his dad whenever I get a chance to talk to him. So I think that'll be a really interesting story for people to check out too.
One of the wrestlers you covered on Saturday was Butler's Anastasia Manchester. Her brother, who graduated a few years ago, he inspired her to wrestle. Now she is inspiring her younger brother and younger sister to wrestle. So she's kind of keeping the tradition of wrestling in the family with that. And I think I've already gotten a few interviews for that. I'm going to get a few more. And also, if you're listening, Zach Turberville up at Slippery Rock, 21-2, a wrestler, I believe is a junior. Looking to get a story done on him. So I'm going to reach out to Denton Zaronis, the head coach, and try to get the ball rolling on that.
And this is also WPIAL Team Wrestling Championship. So tonight you're going to be at Butler, and if they win, they wrestle again on Wednesday.
Yeah, they wrestle Belle Vernon tonight down at North Hills. If they win that, they face Bethel Park at Bethel Park on Wednesday, and if they win that, they go to the semifinals Saturday at Peters Township.
So if you're listening to this on Thursday morning, you might be getting ready to see what our coverage is going to be next week from WPIAL Championships.
I'll pull this up on my computer.
It's a great pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Okay. So I have a few here. I'm going to choose.
Wait. Will you say that one more time?
I've started stockpiling them.
Oh,
Questions I have for Derek. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with this one this week. I asked Jake this in the office the other day. He could not get it. He is not you, Derek. What is the winningest
No pressure.
FBS college football program to never win a national championship? So which team has the most wins in its history but has never won a national championship?
Okay, let them mull that one over. So you're talking straight wins, not winning percentage.
Yes.
Yep.
Winning total.
Total wins.
Okay.
I had to think about this a little bit. Couldn't get it. And you're right, I am not Derek. No one could ever be Derek.
Welcome back to Beyond Butler with myself, Brendan Howe. I know you guys missed me last week. So this week we're talking about something professionally, collegially, outside of Butler County, as we always do. Friday night, I'm writing my story of Newcastle Butler boys basketball, and I see that the Dallas Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer to be the next head coach, having let Mike McCarthy go recently. So Cowboys go with him. The Raiders hired Pete Carroll, former Seattle Seahawks coach. Hopefully he takes Russell Wilson with him. But that means that neither of the teams that were rumored to be interested in Deion Sanders as their head coach will be hiring Deion Sanders this coaching cycle. So what do you guys think about Deion Sanders and his coaching career, and do you think he ever climbs the NFL coaching ranks?
I defer to Jake here first.
Whoa. Won the coin toss. Opts to defer to the second half. What the heck is this? I mean, I think he will. That seems to absolutely be his play. He's not gonna say it right now outright, but because he wants to win a little bit at Colorado, but he's gonna be in the NFL at some point.
I'm sure, yeah. But also the circus that's going to come to any NFL team that hires Deion Sanders as head coach. I mean,
and neither of those franchises.
It's not just Deion Sanders becoming a head coach of an NFL team. It's everything that comes with it. You really want that headache?
My thinking is now is the perfect time for him to do it. And those two teams, well, you say, whew, those two teams are the teams that are crazy enough to do something like that. And both of them said, we'll do something different.
Except Jerry's not willing to let anyone be the head of the show except him. And
that's why Jimmy Johnson left.
Yeah. Like he had a coach that probably could have won a couple more titles with Jimmy, and he just said, no, I don't like the fact that you are the star of the show. And he would never. Deion's 10 times the star that Jimmy Johnson was.
Jerry Jones will come out and say that to him winning is the most important thing, and it's not. He wants to win, but he wants to be the star of the show also.
Deion Sanders has gone on record as saying, and trust me, I know this, I've written it 25 times this month. He went on Good Morning America a few Wednesdays ago and said the only way he will coach the NFL is if his sons, plural sons, Shador and Shiloh, are both on the team that he's coaching. Shiloh's like a mid to late round pick. Shador, a lot of people aren't sure where he's going to go in the draft because of what comes with Deion Sanders and kind of the helicopter parenting that will go on there. Even though he's a college coach, he said that he'll make an Eli Manning. If, say, Shador Sanders gets drafted by Cleveland, Shador Sanders isn't playing in Cleveland. It's not happening. Deion Sanders isn't letting him go there. It's going to be the New York Giants or some other team. I think that this would have been the time for Deion Sanders coaching the NFL. If he can have that next wave of stars at Colorado, he recruited Caden Salter from Liberty, very good FBS quarterback. He also got Julian Lewis, 4-star quarterback. I think he's ranked 9th by one of the recruiting services in the country out of all the players. So he has that quarterback battle going on. He lost Travis Hunter, but he can recruit. Like, kids want to go play for him. Anybody that jumps in the transfer portal, their name is almost always connected to Colorado. I don't think he's leaving Colorado. And if he does, it'll be for another college team, such as Florida State, where he went to school, or a larger team where he can go and win a national championship.
What if he becomes head coach of an NFL team and he wants his two sons playing for him, right? Okay, what if there's somebody else on the roster who's better than his two kids?
They'll get shipped away.
Those players will get shipped away?
Yeah.
So you're literally trading away a better player just so you can get up and have your Fruit Loops every morning with your sons? Come on.
It's a good way to live life. I can think of worse things.
Shedeur
honestly.
Sanders has never had a coach other than
It's
his dad.
Frosted Flakes. They're great.
At like any real football level, Shedeur Sanders has only been coached by his father, which is crazy. Like, imagine he's going to go to the NFL and it's going to be completely different. for him.
Maybe this is the long play here. Is we're going to separate for a year just to prove we can do this without each other, just to combine forces again down the line.
In 2028, it's going to be Shedeur Sanders on his third free agent contract and Deion Sanders in charge. Mike Tomlin gone.
Why don't they go and play? Is there a league in Europe these days?
There is, but it's not as big as NFL Europe.
Or how about
Canada, USFL.
Sanders invade
UFL.
Canada? You know, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. No, I
That'd
don't.
be
I
kind
don't.
of fun. I'd watch Canadian football. If
I
I
want
would
was
too.
there.
I'm just. I would be glad they're not coaching
Yeah,
my
have you
team.
seen those Canadian men?
the last.
I have not, Laura. Tell us more.
When I lived in New York City as a I almost said firefighter. When I lived in New York City, they would have the Can-Am games there, but they were from all over. So these rugby players from like Ireland and Canada would come, but they were also like firefighters and police officers. Yeah.
They have the Can-Am games here now.
I did meet a
Actually.
firefighter who was a rugby player. His name was Brad. He was from
Brad.
Vancouver. He was very manly, tall.
I've found that a lot of people who play rugby end up having brain injuries later in life. So, but I can't really talk because I probably have one myself. So,
I was waiting to see where that was going. I was
that
like, I feel like he's
explains
going to say something about himself, oddly.
We got our answer, folks.
It all makes sense now.
I was really trying to follow the winding path that was going to go. That was not one of them.
Bailey reads this book series she really
Every
likes.
time you say her name, I'm going to do this.
She reads this book series that she really likes. It's about like
What's it called? You should know what it's called. Come on,
the
Brendan.
latest book is called Onyx Storm. It's about like dragons and like people riding dragons. It's like the hot thing right now. They had a
Okay.
book release at Target last Tuesday morning. I had to wait. I didn't have to. Let me reword this. I chose to wake up at 7:30 because she wanted this limited edition book. She had me go to the Butler Target. Her best friend go to the Gibsoni
Rebecca
Target.
Yarros, #1 New York Times
Yeah.
bestselling author. Sorry, I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she had me go to the Butler Target, her best friend go to the Gibsoni Target, and she went to the Cranberry Target. Target opens at 8, and it's -2 degrees outside. I'm like, okay, I'm going to roll out of bed. And I had the heat on in my room. I was so warm, so comfy. Ohio
many
State just won a
details.
national championship. No. I'm setting it up
I'm
here.
sorry, I'm just.
I pull into the Target parking lot, and I'm like, no one's going to be waiting for this book. It's
Oh,
-2 degrees outside.
No, they're there.
I pull up. There's a line of 25 people out the door. I was like, this is insane.
You were not there for the Harry Potter world.
So
the Harry Potter
I
era.
get into the line and I'm trying to text. My fingers are freezing. And she texts. She's like, I got the book. I was like, so I can leave now? Because it was like a special edition. Only Target had it and people are reselling it for like $200. It's like a $20 book. So yeah, that
Wish
was.
I'd known that. I would have gone and bought like 4 of them. Sorry.
So that was my act of love. I got roasted by my friends for it, but I tried to go help. So
Those are bad
you talk
friends.
about nerdy. I rolled out of bed when it was -2 degrees outside to go get a book.
But Nerdy would also be reading the book with her, and then
She
when the
wants-
movie
I told her
comes
I
out,
would.
being excited about going to see it together.
I told her I'd read the
That's
book.
nerdy.
I told her I'd read the book.
I am going to see the Sailor Moon play that is coming to Pittsburgh in March with Mallory because she bought the tickets today because they came out today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very thrilled. This is my excited face.
Yeah,
Have you
I
watched
mean,
a podcast, Jake?
Yeah. Oh, she knows my feelings. I hate Usagi. Like, I'll use that word. I hate Usagi. She is the
so
most
wait, what
infuriating
is?
character.
Wait, remind me what that is again? Because
It's an anime. Well, it used to be.
Oh,
It was
that's
a
right,
manga
it
first,
is.
and it's an anime as well. Yeah.
I think
We-
hate has to be in the title of this show. Has to be.
Hate. No, we're not putting hate in.
She actually thanked me today. She's like, "Thank you for humoring me on this and going with me." It's like, it's okay. Just don't
That's
wanna-
good though. That's good to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's like Derek. Every once in a while, he pulls out his phone. He plays Candy Crush next to his wife. He's like, No.
It's adorable.
You know
That
the
is
card
adorable.
game. I can't say the name on here anymore, but the card game.
Hey, you got bleeped out.
Yeah, I got bleeped out for the name of a card game.
Well, it's HE double hockey sticks.
Yeah, but that's the
That's
thing.
not my problem.
I understand that. But when we, I'm going to say we because we're
Yeah.
all part of the show. When
We
we
are,
bleep
yes.
something out,
Yeah.
our viewers could be thinking, "Oh, he said the F word."
They could think that, and I don't want them to think that either. If it was up to me, I'd just leave it in.
We're
I'm gonna
choir
leave it.
boys. We are choir boys compared to your average Joe. We are well-behaved gentlemen.
We got trivia time.
And that's it? Okay. What's the
Whatever
question?
we want to wrap up.
Oh, the question is, what is the winningest college football program, most wins total, to never claim a national championship?
How many wins?
Oh,
Just roundabout. You saw it already.
I haven't seen them actually.
Oh.
I went
Iowa.
with these. No, Iowa I think was on that list.
Yeah, they have one, I think.
I was gonna say it hits close to home, but I figured that would have
Take another shot
helped
at
you.
it.
Take one more
Yeah,
shot. This
come
won't
on.
count, but
Kent State.
West Virginia.
The Fighting Lamberts.
West Virginia.
West Virginia. I'm back to five. I'm back to
500. Yep. 11-11.
we're one game away from having to be at the end of the NFL season. Super Bowl, that's all we got left. What's your biggest surprise this year? Team-wise, player-wise, coach-wise?
That's a good one. I would say Sam Darnold with the Vikings. Even though you have Justin Jefferson at receiver, which I know Will loves, honestly, I think Justin Jefferson has become one of my favorite players in the NFL. I actually traded for him on my Madden franchise recently. I told Jake about that. Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb on the same team. Pretty solid. Anyways, the fact that he went from being an afterthought in New York to going to Carolina, which that whole situation where they had Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, and they still weren't good. You see what both of them have gone
Loser
on to
franchise.
do. Yeah.
Yep.
Then he goes to San Francisco, which I think maybe some of their winning rubbed off on him. I know you hate San Francisco. So I think the fact that he went to Minnesota this year and he had a great season is a surprise, though I don't think he's going to replicate it. I think if the Giants go and sign him, you're making a mistake by signing him and thinking he's going to be your franchise quarterback, because that, I think, was a one-off.
Jake, other than the fact that your Eagles are playing in the Super Bowl, what's your biggest surprise of the year?
That the Lions or the Bills are not in the Super Bowl.
Ugh.
Preseason, I thought they were going to be in. And that neither one of them made it. That's my biggest surprise.
Sam Darnold is a good one, but I'm going to go with this one. If you would have told me before the season that Joe Burrow was going to put up the numbers he did, I'd be like, oh, this Bengal team's going to have 11, 12 wins. I mean, the defense, all they have to do is like pretty much show up.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they didn't
Stand
show
in the
up.
way a couple times.
Well, they
I
showed
mean-
up week 18 against the Steelers. But
Let's remember that this offense that you like to put down by Russell Wilson scored 44 points against that Bengals defense back in December. That's when things were going good for the
Russell
Steelers.
Wilson
After
might
that, it
not-
was boom.
Russell Wilson might not score 44 points again in his entire life. So that might be that.
You hear that, Russ? He says you're cooked.
I'm sure he listens. That'd be crazy. Come on our podcast, Russell Wilson, please.
Okay, let's add him to the list.
Let's do it.
We have something extra special for you this week. Tomorrow, Friday the 31st, we're dropping a bonus episode. We interviewed former Butler and Notre Dame quarterback legend Terry Hanratty for this week's episode, but it was so good, we decided to drop it as its own separate episode.
So if you want to watch or listen to Derek gush over his beloved 70s Steelers, or Terry tell the story of how he pranked Jack Lambert, yes, that Jack Lambert, you don't want to miss this.
And don't forget, you can call in or drop a comment on Twitter, Facebook, or your podcast app with a question, thought, musing, what a word, or suggestion.
We encourage you to subscribe to the Butler Eagle YouTube channel and Apple or Spotify podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast and at Butler Eagle News. Goodbye.